It's a better way. Typical teepee. Crow Indian tribe. National Cemetery at Big Horn. These are veterans of wars. They're not all those killed in the Battle of Bighorn.
One of these things, get something soft, get closer. Many men will. 1 in every 3 soldiers, 33% of the Army will desert during the
on General Cook down here, and he's just out of it, and he hasn't told us. So what happens is the two columns meet, Sherry's column and Colonel Gibbons' column. They meet over here in the northeast area, the battlefield, about 25 miles. And as they go further into Deep Ravine, they realize it's a dead end. So they can't.
Sioux and Czech warriors converged on Custer command from all directions towards the end of the battle, according to the 2 moon. Then the shooting was quick, pop, pop, very fast. We circled all around them, swirled the water around the stone. We shoot, we ride fast, we shoot again. Now this is the pan of the area. This is the area where Custer had his last stand. The Indians were camped at a ritual. All were invited to a ritual, and there were 5 tribes that converged on this area for the campground. They numbered about 8,000 altogether. Now, over in this area, right, well, I'll come back to that. Over on the ridge, there's a river over there. Reno had forces that were coming in from this mountain area here. And Reno attacked. They had about 650 men all total, and there were 3. They segregated them in 3 regiments. Each one had about 150. Now Reno's men were on this ridge, and they attacked the Indians from along that ridge that would be to the west here. The Custer brought his troops up through this area and set on high ground in this general area and withdrew to this peak here in order to battle the Indians. Now they attacked, they never did retreat, they attacked down, and most of the men were killed. There was 211 that were killed, and they were dropped in this valley right here. So that's where the battle was fought, and this is where the men died. There were 211. They were all wiped out, and they finally buried their men up on this ridge here. Now these are not markers up here. They're just places where they did find bodies. And this is the final grave. It is not the graves of the men were taken to their own homes. Custer is buried out in the east. And that's a narrator. Very interesting. Okay, this is a small area. These are actually where the bodies were found.
Theory suggests that Custer and his men attempted to cross the river 1.5 miles. Custer hastily deployed his companies on foot in a rough defensive formation. Here they fought desperately until all were overwhelmed and killed.
Okay, I'm panning the area. This is the top of the hill where then Lieutenant Colonel Custer made his stand. There were 211 soldiers killed in his regiment. And over in that Reno's regiment, each had about 300, I think they said, troops. They split it three. They had 3 regiments. Now, the attacks came in this area, actual spots where they found the bodies of the soldiers. They always attacked, and they were defeated, and they'd retreat. Here's a pan of the national park, cemetery in the back where the pine trees are. Another part of the grave, mass graves. This is the pan of the north view of the area. Now we're looking east. And this is the south. And the west.
Here they fought desperately until all were overwhelmed and killed. Today, the battle can be more accurately reconstructed using recovered artifacts. Here, about 50 soldiers gathered around Custer, shot their horses for breastworks, and fought to the end. On the morning of June 27th, white marble markers showing where the bodies of soldiers were found after the battle. No markers stand where warriors fell because their families removed the bodies immediately after the battle. They were buried in the Little Bighorn Valley below and among the surrounding hills. Warrior casualties probably numbered between 30 and 40, in addition to several non-combatants killed in the village by stray bullets. 210 soldiers under the command of Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer.
Went from a very well-to-do family, and she's able really to silence his most staunch. It's the first place where Custer actually tried to ford the river. It's going to be about 1.5 miles along the Tula River.
It's the Sodium Bull. These are scouts for Custer.
Excuse me.
What? Did it say anything?
Yeah. Get a close up of it.
Yeah, I'm getting it, I think. These are
That's-
actual.
That's when he was a general, a cadet, and his
76. Right after the Civil War, and by the way, America, for the most part, back in the East, was consumed by the Civil War. What's going to happen between these two cultures out here? That's going to be some of the attitudes going on during this period. Bullets for guns. If you go down there, you'll be fighting for 2 to 3 days of hard fighting. Custer confidently says the 7th should be able to handle whatever numbers we run into down here. He will also have a plan, though. His plan is to do further reconnaissance before he attacks.
See how she comes out. This is a shot at Little Bighorn, showing the colorful sky, big blue sky. This is the national park. There's our car, right there. This is the wide open area. Here's Custer's last stand. Beautiful open sky, beautiful clouds. Real picturesque. Okay, this is the area on the other side of the ridge. Now notice that there are markers spotted here and there, and that shows where they found a body of one of the U.S. troops. All the dead, the Indians were carried away by their relatives the day after the war. But you can see spots of great, you can see markers here and there. There's a storm coming up. And here's Ron. Okay. I didn't know that there were these type of markers. Okay, Major Reno and Benteen Battlefield. The Major Reno had about 150 troops that he deployed, and they were supposed to attack the Cheyenne Indians, mainly Cheyenne. Actually, there were about 5 different tribes, and he was supposed to attack them as they camped along the river down below. This is a pan of the general area. Now, all over these hills, there's spots of, there's little markers where U.S. soldiers died. Over there was where General Custer, behind that mound. And that's a river where the Indians were camped along. That green forest area all along here. Storm in the background. There's Ron viewing the area, viewing our panoramic view. There's 2 markers. That's where they found 2 soldiers dead. And this was the battlefield area.
Don't go in the grass, there's bees there.
There what?
But Reno didn't.
Well, Reno was fighting over here.
Yeah, see there's a couple down there. A couple of mounds.
Where?
Over here.
Yeah.
Boy, there was 2 tall Indian men.
Yeah.
And they were looking at
Was demoralized and badly battered command was joined here by Captain Benteen's force and the pack train. Benteen showed Reno a hastily scrawled message he had received from Custer, which read, "Benteen, come on," and fired. Getting only as far as the high ground, now called Weir Point, they were driven back. Under continual siege, Reno and his men entrenched themselves. Sioux and Cheyenne riflemen occupied the surrounding ridges until the evening of June 26th. That afternoon and evening, the Indians left the valley, making their way in an immense procession toward the Bighorn Mountains, which rise above the valley floor to the west. The next morning, June 27th, Reno and Benteen watched anxiously as a column of dust rose from the valley. Their weary expressions gave way to utter relief when the dust cloud revealed that soldiers of General Alfred Terry's command were approaching. For the Indians, the Battle of the Little Bighorn climaxed their greatest triumph in their 400-year struggle to resist the encroachment of European civilization upon their culture. But their victory was brief. Within a year, most of the Sioux and Cheyenne faced the reality: either death by starvation or accepting the hated reservation.
Of 175 men and scouts stopped in the valley and formed a thin, skirmish line when Indians raced out from the village to oppose him. Outflanked, Reno fell back into the timber on his right. This was on June 25th, 1876 at 3:10 p.m.
Oh, no. That's
Well, why is it pointed this way then?
Okay, start.
All right. Taking up a position in the timber, Reno's men faced westward as Indians began to encircle his new defense. Pressure from all directions convinced Reno this position was untenable too, and he retreated after 30 minutes of action.
in the woods.
Retreated back up here to
He was fighting in the woods and then retreat. But this is where it began. The same thing that you just heard. It's aimed this way.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
And
That's
then-
the area of the battle.
About 4 p.m., during the retreat from the woods, Reno's force was subject to attack by mounted warriors from all quarters. After crossing the river by the remnants of Reno's battered command, took up a new position on the bluffs, having suffered over 30 men killed and 13 wounded in their flight from the valley.
Okay, this is the view that the Indians had as they attacked Custer. Custer's last stand was on that, right on that hill. And this mass grave that we pointed out at first. And then in that short valley, the final fighting was done. The battle lasted, some estimate, between 2 and 3 hours. That's it. This is the valley that the Indian tribes were settled in, and what I'm taking now is a view. Hey Ron, step over about a foot or 2 feet. Okay. Hi Ron.
Hi. This is the 5.
Okay, now what I'm doing now is getting the colorful sky. It's just a fantastic view of the sky and the unusual view of the clouds. Isn't that beautiful? There we get it. Okay, that's good. General view of the land.
I didn't know that before, but one of the articles in there said that, like in the wolf family, no matter how many males or females there are, only the dominant male breeds with the dominant 35 years.
2009. There we go.
This is a shot of the motel that we stayed in Buffalo, Wyoming. So we had a nice rest and got cleaned up good. Bye. This is the name of the motel. Here we are, Ron and Mother packing up. Bye. On our way. And this is a view of the area. Fountains in the back. They had a little snow on them this morning, but they're gone now. Well, it's still morning, 9 o'clock.
With that big truck going through.
Yeah. I got,
It's a little bit like Troy, don't it? With all
yeah.
the big trucks coming in.
And the mountain, and the snow-capped mountains in the background.
Okay, look at that there one coming through. What do you call that? What do you call those caterpillars that's going by?
But it's strip mining.
Strip
All right.
mining.
Mark's Paradise. There goes UPS. This is the area near Devil's Tower. And this is in Wyoming. Have the Yellowstone, and quite effective with the sun. Planting the area, have wheat fields. And look at that. What is that? Lo and behold, that's Devil's Tower. And this is the area about Devil's Tower. There's Ron. And okay, now we're getting closer to the Devil's Tower. This is the landscape about it. We're about 3 miles away. Looking a little bigger, that's the way it looks. Quite a piece of nature's work. Ron.
Yeah.
Where are you? And this is the landscape about it. Nice fields of wheat. No cattle. Strange.
You just passed the cattle up there.
Yeah.
They're all on the
I
ground.
tell you what, I'm going to take the cattle on the way back.
A bunch of cattle were back there. They're all on the ground.
Yeah. And we're back to where we started.
They left no written evidence of having done so. The first documented visitors were several members of Captain Reynolds' Yellowstone expedition who arrived in 1859. 16 years later, Colonel Dodge led a U.S. Geological Survey party to the massive rock formation and coined the name Devil's Tower. Recognizing the unique characteristics, Congress designated the area a U.S. Forest Reserve in 1892, and in 1906, Devil's Tower became the nation's first national monument, thanks to Teddy Roosevelt. Rising dramatically to a height of 1,280 feet above the Belfour River, Devil's Tower has become a rock climbing mecca. On July 1893, local rancher William Rogers became the first person to complete the climb after constructing a ladder of wooden pegs driven into cracks in the rock face. Technical rock climbing conquered the summit with a small party from the American Alpine Club. Today, hundreds of climbers scale the sheer rock walls each summer. All climbers must register with a park ranger before and after attempting a climb.
That's it.
That's it.
Au revoir. Ron.
There's the valley.
865 feet high from the